here. I only have about 8 minutes to go through some very important things, so we'll try and make it quick. If I'm talking fast, the good news is you can rewind and go back. So, first thing I want to show you is the PDF that is attached to your email where you got this video that you're watching. So, this is a year-long pacing guide for Glencoe math. And we've got 6th, 7th, and 8th. We started all the way at kindergarten, but this video is focusing on how to get through the Glencoe textbook through the year. And this is for PLTs, parents, students, anyone who might have a little confusion or just needs some review on how a good way to progress through this book. So first things first, 6th grade, you'll notice you have 159 instructional days, not including projects. So there are 180 days in a school year, so you have a little bit of flexibility here. The unit projects are great, but they are optional. So if you have a student who needs a little extra, they're excelling, and it's good to slow them down and have them go deeper, not necessarily just get through the whole book and zip right through it. These are great for those students that a good chance for them to slow down and go a little deeper with the concepts. 7th grade, you have 158 instructional days and 152 for 8th grade. 7th grade here, 158. So let's look at 7th grade individually. So this is a document I want you to print if you're a PLT or a parent and you're planning for a learning period. This is great because you can just take the number of days and the number of days in the learning period and make a goal. And it can be a little bit less than what's here. So like 32 days, we don't have to take exactly 32 days because there's a little flexibility. Maybe we take 38 days to do that. And sometimes you get stuck on a chapter and you need a little more time, so it's good to have that flexibility. Don't do it just willy-nilly. If your student's understanding, keep forging ahead. But if there's a point where things get a little difficult, you do have a little bit of flexibility. So, for example, in LP1, you might say, let's get halfway through Chapter 2, and you might make a note here after printing that, and then you can you could put the page number here or something. It'd be a great tool for parents to use to do that. I recommend printing it and using it for just that because I know the pacing on SIS can be a little confusing, so this is a great document to have. Next thing I want to show you is how to get through a chapter in Glencoe. So this is the website that you should have logged into. If you haven't yet, you have an email from your PLT that lets you get here. You click on the book, gives you everything you need. I clicked here to open this ebook, and so I'm going to show you what your student book looks like and how to get through a chapter. So it's kind of like you should do this. This is optional. You don't have to do this. Is kind of the way I'm going to approach it, so you get a good idea of what's important. So here's the opening of the chapter. Gives you the standards and everything. Then I want you to do, what tools do you need? Definitely do this. Review the vocabulary. You have a glossary right here that you can click if you go online to look up any of these words. And definitely do this page. When will you use this? Great page to do. Definitely recommend it. It's real world, too many text. Lots of teenagers worry about that kind of thing. So they really speak to the age of the students that are learning, and they like them normally. And there's problems later on that relate to it, so definitely do this. Are you ready? Looks like this at the beginning of the chapter. Super, super important. And later I'll show you how to get extra worksheets if your student does poorly on this. So if you don't know how to do exponents or don't understand exponents or how to multiply by negative numbers, you're not ready for this chapter. You need to review those. And that's in the assessment part of the online account, which I'll show you in a second here. Lessons. You can see there are 8 lessons. You got to do all the lessons. I'll show you in an individual lesson what you can skip and what you need to do. But you're going to be doing all the lessons. That's where your concepts are. Inquiry labs, problem solving, investigation, inquiry lab, 21st century career. Add those up. So your blue, your pink, and your green. Add them up. Cut it in half and just do half of them. Look at what seems most useful. Use your best judgment as a parent teacher. Sometimes your student will be able to make that judgment too. Oh, this looks interesting, or oh, this looks useful. That's where we want to be as a independent learning school. We want independent learning students and independent teaching parent teachers. So That's up to you here it'd be up to you which 2 you do, because that'd be half of these. Then chapter review, performance task, and reflect, all optional. I would recommend doing at least 3 of these before April, because the performance tasks says they are exactly what your kid will see on the test in April. Okay, now in an individual lesson. So all of those you'd be doing all of them, but if you choose them. The inquiry labs, these, and your end of the chapter stuff. Lessons, though, are a bit different. They're the main part of the chapter. So first page is vocabulary. What you'll learn. If your student's very visual and it'll help them to go through the chapter, leaf through it, do it. Optional. What you'll learn, optional. Vocabulary startup, definitely do it. Look up these words again in the glossary, talk about them, do this here. Real world link, optional, but do a few. It's a nice way to give your student a little element of choice. Do they like Fahrenheit to Celsius? Oh, that's interesting. Maybe you have a student that's interested in ag or geothermal something. If it piques their interest, have them do it. If you have a student that isn't interested or claims they're not interested in much, then you can be a little more regimented about that. Examples, super important. Most important part of the chapters and individual lessons. You need to read them thoroughly, watch the videos if you need to, they're located here, and then your student shows that they understand the example here. They get to start trying it. They're not quite totally understanding, but they get to start trying it here, and the examples are right here. Do these pages. There's normally 2 to 3 of these pages and 3 to 7 examples, but it doesn't get out of hand as far as problems. It's about 8 problems normally. Here's your last example here, and then guided practice is a good spot for them to kind of remove themselves from being right next to the examples. They can still go back and reference them, but now they still have some sort of guidance. You're there, a tutor's there, they're still maybe referencing the examples or the videos, but then they really start to get it. And if they do really well here, on the next page, independent practice, I recommend only doing half of these if they did really well. If they did poorly, let them go until they start to get it, and then move on. So this is a kind of a flexible page, but I would say at least do half. Next page is the second page of independent practice. Don't do anything but one of these hot problems. They're important because it gets students to explain their thinking. Pick the one that they feel kind of comfortable with, and then as the year progresses, maybe you'll make sure you kind of hit on all of these, because each of them is a best math practice, and they really relate to the new standards. All right. Extra practice page. Don't do it. Skip it unless you need extra practice, which can happen, but by this time you've done plenty of problems. I am A-okay with skipping this page. This last page, I recommend doing all of it. Maybe if these are really simple, maybe do odds or evens, but in general, I'd recommend doing all of it. Definitely do both. There's 2 to 3 of these smarter balance questions. Again, like the performance task that I showed you here, this is exactly what the test looks like in April, so it's useful to practice the concepts they're learning in that type of assessment. And that's it. That was a lesson. So you really do get to skip, and a lot of things are optional, so it's not as daunting as going through the whole thing. I think that should give everybody a good idea. One last quick thing. The assessments for Are You Ready and chapter assessments, I recommend definitely printing the chapter test to do at the end of the chapter. So we were in chapter 5. Let's say they didn't do well on that beginning piece, the Are You Ready? This is where you could print worksheets with answer keys. And then the tests are located more at the bottom. They're 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, 3A, 3B. It's just 2 copies of the same level. So level 3 is all open-ended, pretty difficult for your advanced students. Level 2 is middle of the road, some open-ended, some multiple choice, and level 1 is all multiple choice. Hope that helped you. Go on here, explore, and I hope the pacing goes well. Thank you.